They keep telling you the economy is strong. So why does it feel like your life is getting smaller? If you've had that moment, standing in the grocery aisle doing mental math, opening your banking app before you buy something small, looking at a receipt and thinking, this can't be the same country. You're not imagining things. You're living inside the most important contradiction in America right now. The economy can look powerful in the headlines, while everyday Americans feel weaker in real life. And that gap isn't just mood, it's structure. It's the difference between an economy that measures strength through totals and averages, and a society that experiences strength through stability, options, and control. The headlines can be right at the same time your lived experience is right, and the fact that both can be true is exactly the problem. This holiday season put the contradiction on full display. Surveys show sour consumer sentiment, yet stores are crowded and retailers report strong sales. Parents keep buying. People keep showing up. From the outside, it looks like confidence. But from the inside, for millions of households, it feels like something else: pressure. Here's the first uncomfortable truth. Spending is not always proof of prosperity. Sometimes it's proof of stress. A crowded mall doesn't tell you how people are paying. It doesn't tell you if they're using cash, draining savings, rolling credit card balances, or stacking buy now, pay later plans. It doesn't tell you whether the purchase was joyful or anxious. It only tells you that people are still participating. And participation is not the same as power. For a lot of families, holiday spending isn't splurging. It's defending normal. It's protecting childhood. It's refusing to let an economy shrink family identity. In a culture that treats consumption as love, parents will prioritize gifts even if it squeezes January. That's not irrational. It's human. But it also means the system can look strong on the surface while households quietly weaken underneath. The mainstream story often stops at the paradox. People say they're unhappy, but they're spending anyway, as if that contradiction cancels itself out. It doesn't. It reveals two different Americas living under one set of numbers. One America is still spending freely because higher incomes and higher assets can absorb higher prices without changing daily life. The other America is spending while negotiating with reality, switching to store brands, shrinking portions, delaying purchases, switching sit-down meals to takeout, driving further for cheaper groceries, trimming tips, timing bills around paydays, and turning everyday choices into compromises. Same economy, two experiences. That's why the economy can look strong in the aggregate while people feel weak individually. Because the national numbers are heavily influenced by the people who can spend the most. When higher income households accelerate spending, the averages rise. Retail looks healthy. Growth looks resilient. The consumer becomes a symbol of strength. But for everyone living closer to the edge, the story isn't abundance. It's trade-offs. Averages don't describe a nation. They hide a nation. Now let's talk about inflation, because this is where the disconnect becomes almost personal. You keep hearing that inflation is down, that it's cooling, that it's much better than it was. But most people don't experience inflation as a rate. They experience it as a baseline reset. When inflation slows, prices usually don't fall. They rise more slowly. That's not a technical footnote. It's the entire lived reality. If your grocery run used to be $180 and now it's $240, the fact that it's rising a little less quickly doesn't restore your budget. It just changes the speed of the squeeze. So when people hear, "it's improving," many translate it as, "your pain has been reclassified as normal." That doesn't reassure them. It alienates them. It makes them feel like institutions are speaking a language designed to win arguments, not reflect reality. And reality is dominated by essentials. You can postpone a new phone. You can't postpone rent. You can't postpone health insurance renewals. You can't postpone childcare. You can't postpone a car repair. You can't negotiate with the cost of being alive. That's why consumer sentiment can stay sour even while spending continues. People aren't responding to the direction of a chart. They're responding to the baseline they live on every day, and the fact that the baseline moved up without a clear path back. Now add the labor market, another place where the headline can look good while the lived reality feels stuck. The public gets told, employment is solid, layoffs are not surging, people have jobs. That can be true, and it can still feel bleak, because the real power in a labor market is not simply having a job. The real power is having options. If hiring slows, if job switching becomes harder, if the ladder stops moving, you can keep your job and still lose leverage. Your paycheck becomes less a ladder and more a tether. You don't feel unemployed, but you don't feel mobile. You don't feel like you can demand more because the exit door doesn't look open. You're employed, yet economically pinned. This stuck economy creates a special kind of anxiety. It doesn't show up as dramatic unemployment. It shows up as quiet stagnation, people lowering expectations, families delaying moves, workers staying put not because they're satisfied, but because they're cautious. And if you can't plan, you don't feel strong. You feel exposed. This is where everyday Americans feel weaker becomes literal. Weakness isn't only about income. It's about bargaining power. It's about the ability to change your situation. When the economy reduces your options, it reduces your strength, even if the top-line indicators look stable. Now here's a force that rarely gets named clearly on television: risk transfer. Over time, America has built an economy that pushes more risk down onto the household. Medical bills can arrive suddenly. Insurance costs can jump without warning. Rent hikes can reset a family's entire month. Credit card interest can turn a small shortfall into a long-term drag. Even when wages rise, risk rises too, because one bad month can be catastrophic. In an economy like that, people can look fine right up until the moment they aren't. That's why the consumer can keep spending while feeling fragile. People are managing a system that keeps asking more of them personally. More resilience, more coping, more self-insurance, without giving them more power in return. There's another hidden cost that rarely gets acknowledged: the time tax. When money gets tight, you don't just lose dollars, you lose hours. You spend time driving to multiple stores to save a few bucks. You spend time comparing prices, waiting for discounts, timing purchases around paydays, running side gigs, juggling bills, calling providers, negotiating fees. That time is not free. It's life. It's stress. It's fatigue. So even if someone makes it work, the cost can be a constant background drain. And that drain doesn't show up in GDP, but it shows up in mood, in patience, in family tension, in a general feeling that life is harder than it should be. Now let's talk about something that hides behind strong holiday sales: consolidation. In a high-price environment, consumers become more price-sensitive. They migrate toward the biggest retailers, the ones with scale and logistics. That makes the national retail story look strong, but it can also hollow out local businesses. It can concentrate power even further. It can make communities feel less resilient and less alive. This matters because economies are not just systems of purchase. They are systems of opportunity. When small businesses weaken, local opportunity weakens. When local opportunity weakens, people feel trapped. And when people feel trapped, politics turns volatile. And that brings us to messaging, because messaging is doing heavy lifting right now. Listen carefully to the tone you hear from commentators. It's tricky to tell people it's better than it feels because you don't want to dismiss lived experience. That sentence is an admission that the official story and public reality have drifted apart. So what happens when reality drifts away from narrative? Institutions don't always change policy. They change language. They ask people to hold on. They promise next year will be better. They frame pain as temporary turbulence. They treat the public mood as a communications problem. But trust is not built through slogans. Trust is built when improvement is felt without being announced. And this is why consumer sentiment matters more than a single strong retail season. Sentiment is not just about happiness, it's about legitimacy. Whether people believe the system works for them, whether the rules feel fair, whether the future feels reachable. People will endure hardship if they believe the path forward is real. What breaks societies isn't simply high prices. It's the sense that the ladder has been pulled up, that the future is gated, that power is insulated from the costs it imposes. Now here's the sharper translation of the holiday paradox. A lot of spending is not confidence. It's a defense mechanism. It's people buying normalcy for their kids, people buying a short moment of relief, families refusing to let a harsher economy shrink their identity. And the system counts that refusal as proof the system is fine. If you want a single line that captures the whole moment, it's this. The economy isn't strong. The spreadsheet is. The household isn't. None of this means the country is in dramatic collapse. The more dangerous story is quieter. Normalization. When a nation normalizes high prices, high interest rates, constant trade-offs, and personal exposure to shocks, it learns to survive inside limits. But survival is not prosperity. Survival is not security. And if policymakers confuse survival spending with confidence, they will keep praising the machine while people inside it feel smaller. So what should we watch next if we want the real economy, not the headline economy? Watch the quality of spending. Are people buying more units or paying more for fewer? Watch the substitutions. More store brand, smaller packages, fewer sit-down meals, more delayed purchases. Watch whether credit is being used as a temporary bridge or as a permanent crutch. Watch the labor market not just for layoffs, but for mobility. Are workers able to switch jobs and increase wages, or are they pinned in place? Do people feel options returning, or do they feel stuck? Watch essentials. Not luxury categories, not 1 month of discounts, but the costs that define everyday life. Housing, insurance, healthcare, childcare, food. If those don't ease in a way people can feel, sentiment will stay low no matter what the headlines say. And watch the political temperature. Because when the economy looks strong but people feel weak, the risk isn't just economic, it's democratic. Societies do not fracture only from recessions. They fracture from the sense that power has stopped listening. In the end, the defining question isn't whether the economy is growing, it's whether ordinary Americans are gaining strength, more stability, more bargaining power, more control over the future. When they don't, the country becomes unstable even if the numbers look stable. No noise, no spin, just clear, fact-based analysis that connects power to everyday consequences. Now I want to hear from you. When you hear the economy is strong, what is the one everyday price, bill, or life decision that proves to you it doesn't feel that way? And what do you think leaders are refusing to admit?